Hi, this is David Kirshner for West Hempstead Echo, and I'm here with Assemblywoman Taylor Darling, who is in the District 18 of New York State.
Yes.
And welcome. We're so happy to meet you and to interview you today.
Thank you, David. I'm happy to be here. You know, we love West Hempstead. We're literally right at the border of West Hempstead.
We are right at the border,
right
and
here.
we're on Front Street. And so Taylor, just to kind of like start and get things going, you are looking to run for the 6th Senatorial District in New York State, where the Democratic primary is going to be held on June 25th,
Yes.
with the regular elections held on November 5th.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
That is fantastic. So, you know, we're all about West Hempstead. And from what I read in your bio, you started out in Brooklyn. That's your origin. So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I sure can. So I was born in Brooklyn Heights in Brooklyn, and we moved to Bed-Stuy briefly, and then we moved to Europe. My father was in the military. He was a tanker. My mother was in law school, and we spent some time in Europe, and then we moved back to Brooklyn because unfortunately my father had radiation poisoning. Something happened in the military, and he became very ill. So we moved back to New York so he could have the best care ever. I want to shout out the Hospital of Special Surgery, Dr. McKenzie, who did a great job keeping my father comfortable and alive for 5 years. And I was raised Jewish. My father converted from the Church of England, he's British, to Judaism. And so I was raised Jewish and Episcopalian. My mother, I used to call her our Episcopalian princess. She had an uncle who was a bishop, like best friends with Desmond Tutu. So we were really big up in the Episcopalian church. And she was married to a Jewish husband. And I have to just say, like, Judaism was such a big part of my childhood, and watching my father find peace in that religion and acceptance, which he did not find in his prior religion, was very important. And I feel like so much of my acts of service and the importance of service came from that. And after he died, when I was 10, we moved out to Long Island. And I graduated from high school at 16, went to my dream college, Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia at 16, entered a doctoral program at 19 for clinical psychology, and somehow I am here as an elected official. So that is my background.
That's it. So clinical psychology. So how did that degree help you in what you're currently doing?
Human behavior?
I guess
Well, psychology is the study of human behavior, and my initial goal was to increase the incidence of healthy two-parent households because I had the most beautiful childhood with two parents who absolutely loved each other, absolutely loved us, invested in us, and I attribute almost all of my confidence and my ability to walk into any space, as long as it's not NASA, to be able to do great work and figure it out, right? So I said, I want more children to have this experience, especially children of color. And I was able to learn a lot of theory. I was able to meet a lot of great people, but clinical psychology proved to be very cold. And my personality is a lot of things but cold. So after completing 3 years in that doctoral program, I was able to move back to New York, take care of my mother who became ill, and I entered Hofstra's Industrial Organizational Psychology program, where I graduated with my master's, which is why I can call myself a psychologist. And IO psychology, we know, is pretty much psychology applied to the workforce, which more people work. So I felt like I'd make a bigger impact there. And how does that help me? I create systems. I create systems to improve efficiency, productivity, and get things done. And I've applied all of those skills to service.
Awesome. So in May of 2018, you joined the government, or you were elected?
No.
No? Oh,
May of
okay.
2018, I was asked if I wanted to run for office.
Okay.
I had no idea what that entailed. I asked for a job description. I asked for, am I paid? Where do I work? What do I do? I had none of those answers, but I knew in my heart of hearts that my call and my prayer to move from the private sector, where I was making a lot of rich people richer, and serve the community that invested in me was there. And if I can, January of 2018, I did join a church out here in Roosevelt, Memorial Presbyterian Church, and I was able to complete my first corporate Daniel fast, where we eat the food that Daniel ate in the Bible for anywhere from 10 to 21 days. We did a 21-day fast, and I had that prayer in my heart for God to use me. And I have to say, my life changed drastically from January to 2018. By November of 2018, I was the Assemblywoman-elect, having unseated a 30-year incumbent and one of the most powerful women in New York State.
Wow.
So big deal. and just sitting here. And people have said different things like, oh, this was a David and Goliath story. A lot of religion and God around this movement, because again, political unknown, didn't even watch the news. Unfortunately, only voted twice at that point. Now I vote for everything. But I just felt just disconnected from government in the process.
Wow.
And now I get to teach people and encourage people to be engaged and serve in the government, and it's beautiful.
That's great, and you know, I can hear that engagement and that willingness to kind of just dive into the community.
Yeah,
so, can you speak a little bit about some of the accomplishments? Once that occurred, and now it's all about serving the community.
Definitely. What really made me, take this big leap was when I discovered that Hempstead School District had never had district-wide busing. So we had some students that were walking up to 3 miles in the morning to get to school, and then 3 miles in the evening to get home. That is a 6-mile trek. And I just kept thinking and putting myself in their shoes, like, what are these children eating? Are they dressed appropriately? The traffic patterns have changed drastically. We had children who were hit by cars, children who've been killed, children who were picked up by, gangs, and then children who just didn't go to school.
Yeah.
And I said, guys, if we're worried about workforce and the future of our village, the future of Long Island and Nassau County, Hempstead is the hub. We have to make sure the school district is thriving. So that became my big fight for 5 years. And we were able to allocate $1 million for the district to purchase some buses while they figure out how to get district-wide busing, what that looks like. And that was probably one of the greatest works of our lives. Also, having a school monitor come into the Hempstead School District. We've done a lot of work around just equity, like health equity, education equity, combating food scarcity. And if you want, I don't want to jump ahead, I can speak about some things we did for West Hempstead.
Sure. Well, we'd love to hear about things about West Hempstead.
We're all about West Hempstead here. So even though West Hempstead is a very small part of the 18th Assembly District, it is a very important part for us. One, because I love the walkability of the community. In the Jewish faith, I know how important it is for everyone to be able to walk, especially during Sabbath. I love that there are parks and there are grocery stores, and it just feels like a real community. And as we're moving away from relying on fossil fuels and all those other things, I want more of our district to read like West Hempstead. I want us to be able to walk places safely and really just have a good footprint. So one of the first, issues that came onto our lap here in this office was Hall's Pond. They wanted more, the community really wanted more offerings at the park. They wanted the park to kind of have a revamp because a lot of families relied on the park, and especially during COVID, they wanted to make sure they had more swing sets and that the park was really just actually serving the functions we needed to serve. So we immediately partnered with the county. We had everyone come out. We assessed the park. We went to see what could be done. Administrations have changed. COVID happened, and we're still working on that. It's definitely a priority. They did some improvements, but I definitely think that we could be doing more for the parks in the area. We want to make sure the children and families do have, the best quality of life possible. And I think parks and green space is a great place to attack. Something else we were able to really focus on was, of course, the West Hempstead Union Free School District. So when we found out they were having issues with HVAC, and I definitely want to shout out a board member. I'm going to just say Kurt. He's going to kill me for saying his name, but he came to me and he said, "Hey, listen, we see you like to allocate funds. We need money." And we're like, "Oh, West Hempstead's such a small part." But for us, that really wasn't a factor, right? Because we've done such a good job at allocating money across the district that we got to a space where we were like, we're kind of doubling back. And instead of doubling back, let's assist West Hempstead. Any place that does not have a mayor that we serve, we like to give them extra special attention because they don't have that extra layer of protection and funding, right? So we gave them $250,000 for the purchase and installation of one underground oil tank. We hope to see those funds this spring, and that was a really big deal. The superintendent did a phenomenal job coming in to lobby. And once people ask, I don't like to say no. He made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and we said heat is important for children to learn, right? So we want to make sure that they have heat, and then roads.
So roads, yeah. So you know what? Coming here, I saw a bunch of potholes that just came up like the last week with this, these big swings. So what's going on with potholes?
So potholes. So I don't know if you know this, but I am called the Pothole Princess of New York State because of my.
Is that a designation?
I'm going to say yes and no, because our governor, who does tremendous work for our state, and I absolutely love how she considers our state in a holistic space. You know, when she was appointed as governor, and then when she was running to be elected as the first female governor, she gave us a great call, and she said, "Hey, I'd love your support." And I was actually at Firestone with my cousin because she had hit a pothole. And $600 later, we said, "Hey, we'd love to offer support. We need two things." Of course, it was our Hempstead buses for our students, and then also we need road repair in Long Island. Hitting a pothole and having to pay anywhere from $300 to sometimes $1,200, $2,000 could be the difference between a family being able to pay their mortgage, you know, have activities with their family, eat, medication. We said we got to do something better about potholes. We have drivers out here. What can we do? And she allocated about $400 million to Long Island alone. She repaved and repaired and replaced roads on the LIE, the Meadowbrook State Parkway, and the Southern State Parkway, along with other areas. Our DOT, our Department of Transportation, is tremendous. So these potholes, which we see, and thank you for referencing the weather, every time we have major freezes and we have thaws, you know, that's what happens. The water gets in the ground, it thaws, it freezes, and then we have a hole. We're pretty diligent about staying on top of the potholes for state roads, and for our county, town, and village roads, we have great relationships with those layers of government. So we'll get on the call and make sure that these things are escalated. So bring your potholes to us.
So for those of you who follow West Hempstead Echo, you know that one of my pet peeves, in addition to potholes, is actually sidewalks. And you know, in Hempstead, in the town of Hempstead, there are so many uneven sidewalks. And if you have a wheelchair or if you're pushing a stroller, some of these streets are almost impossible. And you know, how can we get on top of this situation?
Okay, so the most important thing that I've learned is that we have a lot of layers of government. Some may argue way too many layers. So you get to kind of play, that's the town, that's the county, that's the state, that's the federal government. So what we've done is taken all that information and really like just simplified it so that even a second grader or first grader can understand how the layers of government work and how we can use them to improve our quality of life, right? And once you get that life hack, things start to make sense, taxes start to make sense, and things happen. So the first thing we would do is determine who owns the sidewalks, right? Which layer of government is responsible for the sidewalks? And then from there, we pretty much do an assessment, we write some nice letters, put on some nice letterhead, and the letter comes first, then an email, then the calls. And we say, we need this fixed. What's the plan? What, you know, where can we get this funding? When can we start this project? Put it on a list. And I think that's really important. So thank you for that piece.
I love that. And if we could prioritize that, especially for those who are handicapped,
100%.
That would be amazing.
I sit on the first ever forum committee for people with disabilities in New York State. I was one of the first members, and it has been an honor. I didn't understand why I was appointed to the committee until I got on it. And it's really one of my callings, because I just said, we should have always had this committee, because if anyone should have some ease in advocating for themselves, it should definitely be our New Yorkers with disabilities and their families, right? So 100%, once you add the ADA and things like that, things get escalated really quickly.
Wow. So, you know, when I was doing a little bit of research and I was looking at the maps, I see that the footprint from what your current position to when you look at the New York State 6th Senatorial District really expands to a much greater portion of the town of Hempstead. Are you ready up for that challenge?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to consult Bob with that one. If I garner the support and it is in my path to become the first Black senator to represent Long Island in New York State history, I 100% know that I will be equipped with the right team and the right skills to serve. That's
amazing. And, you know, for the potential to be the first Black senator, first Black woman senator, that's got to put extra pressure on you, correct?
I would say it's pressure, but one, I say pressure builds diamonds and pressure breaks glass. So we are going to break that glass ceiling, because it's time. We need a bridge builder. And I've been built for this role, to build bridges.
Unbelievable. So as we wrap up, and you mentioned things in your background, you know, your background has Jewish roots, it has Episcopalian roots. And as we look at West Hempstead in particular, especially following October 7th, we see a community that's been divided, and we see a community that, for lack of a better term, is just stressed out. we need help in healing the wounds of both the community and then in the global sense. So what I'm really asking is, how can you help us?
David, you have really framed some of the most atrocious experiences that I think the world has seen in the past several months in a very beautiful way. And that is the way that I frame it. I feel like a lot of our issues in this world are because people feel unloved, unheard, and misunderstood. And from where I'm sitting personally, you are my brother. I have a lot of brothers, I have a lot of sisters. We are all family, we are all connected. And I hate to see anyone suffer. And how can I help us heal? With love, with service, with addressing issues, with listening and just showing up, honestly. But beyond all of that, it's really prayer. Honestly, I have seen God work in my personal life. I've seen God work in my family's life. I've seen God work in the world. And I pray to him every day that we will have that healing, that we will have some resolutions, and that people can live. I mean, lives are being lost. It's tragic. I have friends fighting on a side. I have friends in the Israeli army, and I'm devastated about the whole situation. And I just said, you said it perfectly. We need to heal. We need love. And that's what it really is about.
Wow. And thank you so much for your kind words. So to wrap things up, this is David for West Hempstead Echo, and I'm here with Assemblywoman Taylor Darling, who's going to be running for the 6th Senatorial District in New York State. We want to thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure.
Yes.
We appreciate your transparency, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, David. I love the Echo, and thank you, Dan, the man behind the camera. I appreciate you guys for this time.
All right, and that's a wrap.